Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. Before we start our discussion today, we pay our respects and condolences to the family of Boutros Ghali, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, who passed away earlier today. In tonight's episode, we're going to be discussing Egypt bracing itself to become, or as the transition has been going on for a while, to become a democratic state with a revived economy. This is in light of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's speech to the parliament earlier. Also, we're going to be highlighting later on in the show the President's meeting with the former Secretary of State of the United States of America, Madeleine Albright. But before we start our discussions, let me welcome our distinguished guest, Dr. Hesham Ashmawy, Chairman of the Egyptian American Business Association. Dr. Ashmawy, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our discussion with Dr. Ashmawy, let's check out this report regarding President al-Sisi calling to establish a democratic and constitutional rule here in Egypt, and we'll be right back.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said Egypt has established democratic and constitutional rule after years of turmoil. Addressing the new parliament, al-Sisi declared the completion of Egypt's transition to democratic rule. He acknowledged that the country is still struggling to revive its economy and combat extremists, but asserted that it had succeeded to a point. President al-Sisi emphasized that a solution to the Palestinian issue should be reached as soon as possible, and said the problems of the Palestinians were the problems of the entire Egyptian nation. He declared that the Palestinian cause was and remains a cause for all Egyptians. The president said his country has established democratic and constitutional rule after years of turmoil following the 2011 uprising. He mentioned a series of mega projects unveiled in several domains aimed at redrawing the nation's map. They include a new expansion to the Suez Canal and launch of an ambitious development scheme in the area, calling them the icon of Arab compromise. He noted the new projects had provided more than 1 million jobs. He also referred to his government's success in ending the acute energy crisis that hit the country in the years that followed the 2011 uprising. Sisi said it was necessary to start immediately building infrastructures including roads, harbors, airports and electricity stations, as well as introduce legislative amendments creating favorable atmosphere for investment. He said Egypt's message to the world has always been that of peace and love. He added, "Rest safe efforts to reach political solutions to the crises in Syria, Libya and Yemen." He also mentioned achieving a fair and comprehensive peace for the Palestinian crisis.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, discussing, really having an overview over the road to democracy ever since the January 25th revolution in 2011 with Dr. Ashmawy. Dr. Ashmawy, in his address to the parliament, President Sisi said that Egypt has established a democratic and constitutional rule, especially after the election, electing the new parliament after a few years of not having one here in Egypt. First of all, how far do you think the country has come so far in that road to democracy?
First of all, I'd like to give my condolence to the family of Mr. Boutros Ghali. Yes. He was a unique personality, one of a kind that he really put the Egyptian people on the right track on the map. He was a great example as an ex-foreign minister of Egypt, Secretary of the State of the United Nations, the most distinguished position in the world. And his act that he insists in his principle to fight the world to talk about Qana, what happened in Lebanon, and he lost his renewable there. I heard plenty of his beautiful story directly from him and from his nephew. He was one of a kind. So hopefully he's replaced by many Egyptians that could take over and have some good position in the world to tell us how many Boutros Ghali do we have, which we do have. We need to shine them up.
Yes.
Okay, now Egypt. Where are we? Where are we going? Where would we like to be?
Yes.
Well, I was very impressed by President Sisi when he really completed the whole mission, now the third mission of the parliament. But we have to understand something very important, and the Egyptian people has to be aware of it. It has been 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, from February 11 to 11. Now we are in February 2016. This 5 years, Egypt has lost lots of many good things. Building Egypt, building the Egyptian people, putting Egypt on the right track. So I was expecting from President Sisi in his last meeting in the parliament, the first and last week, that not to be a diplomat one. We don't have time for diplomacy between both of us. When I say both of us, the Egyptian and the president. We need to put facts on the table. The 1.5 million acres that we was talking about for agriculture before, it's needed to be started yesterday. But I need the people in the parliament. Now they are sitting, they have their title, they have their position, they have the people elected them, they have to repay back the people by working for them. We have to discuss this 1.5 million acre. Do we have enough electricity for it? Do we have enough sweet water? Do we have enough equipment? Most important, what are we going to grow in this 1.5 million acres? Are we going to give it to the army to develop it, or we will look for the Egyptian farmer and build the farmer again? Now these questions are all having good answers, practical answers, if we think about it as leaders of Egypt, as a parliament and president. I cannot ask the army to develop the agriculture land and leave the border of Egypt all over around Libya and around Sinai and around Israel and leave this all alone. We have to understand some facts. I was expecting to hear some real facts from the president that right now the economy is not the best in Egypt, and in order to build our economy, we have to admit that the plan of Muhammad Ali to build big pieces of land for agriculture was needed, and dividing these pieces of land in Nasser time was not helping the Egyptian economy. So time has come, and this reflects, of course, not on the dollar, how much, no, in the devaluation of the Egyptian pound, which is everybody's complaining about the increase of the value of the dollar.
Yes.
It's not, the dollar has not been increased anywhere in the world except Egypt, because unfortunately our Egyptian pound has devaluated.
Yes.
Why? We don't have production. We import almost everything in Egypt. So time has come when we think back to the 1.5 million acre, which is the backbone, it will be the backbone of Egypt economic situation in the very near future. We have to understand the production of this 1.5 million will be to feed the Egyptian, or to export and bring hard currency, or both. Right now we have a problem really, because which Egyptian would like his son to become a farmer? Would you let your son to become a farmer only to go and work just as a farmer? Because we did not respect the farmer for the past 50 years. So time has come to understand that this farmer, like the garbage collector, like the electrician, the painter, we have to respect all the clean and good jobs who feed the Egyptian.
Yes.
We feed them by mental, by working, by cleaning, by eating, by feeding, by teaching. We have to respect this. We don't have just to look that all our kids should be doctors and engineers and pharmaceutical. Time has come really to realize the fact that with this we have to understand. Now, President Sisi mentioned also in his speech, not the last one, the one before, that we have 6 million people working in the government, and the government really need 1 million only. Now, we should really face this with the parliament. What do we do with the 5 million who are not productive to the government? Now, those we cannot understand really, because when we look at it really as economic situation, the 5 million people who are not productive, they are ruining the production of the 1 million. Because they are getting paid the same. Not only this, they are ruining the transportation, the traffic, back and forth, and there is no production. They are ruining using the government office, electricity and water and all the above, elevators. They are wasting our time. So if those people stay at home and do some production, small business production from their home and get paid, believe me, the traffic and the situation of the traffic will be the best. The government offices, we can sell it or we can use it for other things. We will save electricity, we will save power, we will save water, we will save all the above. So right now, time has come to face the facts between the president and the parliament. We completed the third issue by the parliament being completed. So time has come to face this with the people of Egypt, to tell them we have no choice. The government, the Arab government who used to lend us money and give us a grant like Saudi Arabia and Emirate, they are in a tough situation.
Yes.
So they are not going to give us grant anymore, and we should not depend on grant.
Yes. Well, Dr. Ashmawy, you're talking about the economic aspects of the Egyptian life right now, and we will definitely get to that later, but you've mentioned also the third step of the transitional roadmap, which is electing a parliament. Now, we got used to not having a parliament for a couple of years.
Absolutely.
Now, do you feel that this new parliament will be able to actually really claim the responsibility that all the Egyptian institutions really rely on the parliament in doing and actually revising all the decrees that were issued over the past few years, really working on dealing with the investment law, talking about the demonstrations law, talking about human rights, freedoms? Do you feel that the new parliament will be able to take such a huge tasks really, and deliver to the Egyptian people?
Well, first of all, we have to help them. Who is we? The people of Egypt, that they elected them, the non-profit organization, the media, the government, to help them to put the most important issue first. If they have 100 issues today, we don't have to solve the 100 issues overnight, because they don't have a measure. I was completely against that they spend 2 nights from the first night they were there, and they don't go home. You know, they've been waiting 5 years. It doesn't matter if it is 5 years and 1 month. It's no big deal. But again, we have to put priorities. What do we need first? We need to feed the Egyptian. Number one. How can we feed them without really asking abroad help? How can we feed them? How can we think about investment without really asking the world? Because there is no, I said this before, there is no Arab person or an investor will come with a suitcase full of money and say, I'm coming to invest in Egypt. It doesn't happen anymore. But why would they come to Egypt? Because of the manpower of Egypt, because of the location of Egypt, because of the usage, people, the 300 million Arabs that they can use product made in Egypt. Can we compete with the product that the investor will do here or not? So we have to put this into priorities. The president wanted to put a logo made in Egypt. Before we say any product made in Egypt, we have to compare that this product will be made in Egypt, will be better than the product made in China, or Turkey, or where else. We have to put the world into a small team that we understand. How can we go into competition? And if we cannot, there's nothing wrong with this. We have to face the fact. We can team up with them in order really to break your enemy, make him as a friend. So time has come to team up with the world. We don't have enemies, really. But we cannot say today we are with Russia or with US and against Russia, or with Russia against US or against. We have to team up. It doesn't matter with whom. Egypt has to team up with the whole world to put Egypt on the right track, on the right map in the world. So, yes, the parliament has a big job, What do we need from him? Priorities. Feed the Egyptian, put them in the right track, face the facts. If we have 5 million employees, we have to find a solution. If we have a problem with tourism, I was just giving an example yesterday in one of the other stations, that Paris had also 200 people were killed. Okay? 6 months ago, I think. But the tourism did not affect. Why? Was not affected at all. Why? Because international lobby is much more stronger than 200 accident happens. So accident happens in France, in UK, in Turkey, in Egypt, everywhere, in Israel, everywhere. But I think Egypt is the most suffering country from this happening in Sinai or happening in Cairo. It did happen before. So time has come to think out of the box. I was giving them example that Egypt is a leader in Africa, so time has come to think about tourism, bringing from US the African American to tour Africa, including Egypt. For example, I said this to the Minister of Tourism. They don't have to focus in Egypt. You can focus in the area. Put Egypt on the right track, that the leader of Africa. Egypt is the leader of the Middle East. Egypt is the leader of the Arab countries. We have to think about it. People who are coming from all over the world for Hajj or Umrah, they should stop in Cairo. So we should really team up with the Metropolitan Museum to do marketing for the Egyptian Museum, the new one, not to wait for the tourists to come and say, do I come to Cairo or not? No, we don't need this. We need to go and grab this. We should have 100 pieces of our antiquity travel the world under the UNESCO and bodyguards and guards from Egypt to go and tour the world as a museum in UK and France, in England, everywhere, in order really to see the methods, how to revive again the return of investment in Egypt. We are not waiting for investor to come with money.
Yes.
I repeat, we are waiting to go and grab the investment opportunity by having the 7,000 years culture, by having the land that we are only using 6 or 7%, 93% undeveloped. To market this, we should go and ask the European Union, for example, what do you need from the Egyptian product, agriculture? Whatever they need, we can grow for them with their teamwork, and this production will be sold for the coming 10 years to them. So they will invest equipment, they will invest know-how in order to take a production. Half of it will go to Egypt, half to Europe, and we'll get hard currency. So we really need to have to think out of the box, not to have the regular farmer to tell him, listen, bring wheat and maybe the Egyptian government will buy it from you. Bring cotton and maybe the Egyptian government will export it. We should not depend on the government. So back to your question, the parliament has to help the people of Egypt, the government of Egypt, the president to give him advice. The time has come to have the Egyptian build the new Egypt through them, to think out of the box, to get good results worldwide.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to a short break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.